Right now, we are all part of a 24-hour global conversation about our futures, creating a space where all generations, especially young voices, can share their visions, concerns, and action-driven projects towards a better tomorrow. Let's make this conversation count. You can find facilitators' bios on the event page. So, facilitators, take it away.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Lola, and I'm here with Giulia Sonetti, who just connected. We can't hear you, Giulia.
Hello, everyone.
So, today we're going to talk about student sense of agency and purpose in their current education. And specifically, we're going to look at STEM students in higher education. So, to tell you maybe a bit about me and Giulia. So, we've been working together for a bit more than a year now on a research project on the topic of eco-anxiety and more particularly, more specifically, students' sense of agency in schools. And Giulia was my supervisor actually during this project. So she will be here present today, but I will be making most of the presentation. So the session is, we titled it Nerds Are Not Robots. This is actually a quote from one of the students that answered in the survey when asked, what do you think your university should change for you to have more a sense of agency and purpose? The student wrote, nerds are not robots, humanize us, which I think sums up pretty well the state of it's education in general, but particularly technical higher education, which in which students are very pressured, where the topics are highly technical, and this kind of thinking about sustainability, about the context in which they act, is just starting to take place in curriculums. So I'm going to tell you about what we did at UPC, so Universitat Politècnica de Catalunya, which is one of the biggest universities in Barcelona, Spain. It's a Catalan public university that was founded in 1971, so it's one of the, traditional huge technical universities that trains future architects, engineers, and people doing science and technology. So it's a huge campus. There's actually 9 campuses spread across 9 different municipalities. And there's a total of 37,000 approximately students and staff. So it's one of these huge machines that is quite old and that is really trying to innovate. And this is what Giulia and I were doing there, trying to use futures thinking methods to understand students, investigate their perception of the education that they received, and particularly the education related to socio-ecological challenges and how well they believe they're being trained to address these issues as engineers and as scientists. So this presentation will be about sharing this methodology that we created that uses futures thinking as a participatory mechanism for student-centered curriculum transformation. So what we did is that I was very lucky to be in a team at the university that was tasked basically like it's like a bureau that takes care of innovation and community at the university. So they're really like the ones out of all the staff that are trying to innovate. And through them, I got to meet 2 teachers who were leading different courses in different programs, who basically gave me, 2 hours of their course for me to do my workshop because they believed that it was meaningful and that their students could gain something from doing a bit of introspective work, basically. So I'm very grateful to these two teachers. If you've done research in learning science, in like formal education, you know how difficult it is because there's, no time, really intense programs. So it's really important that we have a few teachers who are quite free and who are interested in these experiments, basically. So in total, we had 121 students who participated in this workshop that we created. So the students came from 4 different degrees at the university. We had 9 students from a sustainability science masters, which is like the experimental program that is like very untraditional because they have a lot of sustainability courses. And then you had students from like very more mainstream programs, so civil engineering, so they study how to build roads, dams, and things like that, like big infrastructure. Then we had 18 students from marine science and technology. They were bachelor students. And then we had 34 students who were studying environmental engineering. So we had 43 females and 78 males. And the workshop was a duration of 2 hours. So it started with, 15 minutes of introduction to the workshop. Then we made the workshop. They made the workshop. They participated, and then in the end, we asked them to fill out a little survey that gave us complementary information around our topic, which was to understand their sense of agency and their experience of being taught social and ecological issues in their curriculums. So I will now explain, like how did we build this tool, this methodology in this activity, and then I will share some results that might be interesting for us to discuss because it reveals a lot about how young people, not even engineers or technical students in general, feel about school and how well it prepares them to face the real world. So, as I said, we designed from scratch using inspiration from different futures thinking tools that already exist out there. So the workshop included 3 dimensions, 3 tools, maybe that we can call them. So world building, personal narration, and backcasting. So in the first step, the students had 15 minutes in groups to basically map out an ideal scenario on a specific topic that they were actually studying. So here I've put the prompt for like the general prompt, but what I was able to do is that I adapted the prompt to the course that the students, that the teacher invited me in. So, for example, Elizabeth Roca at some point was doing a course for the civil engineering about social issues in transport mobility. That was her course. So basically looking at transport planning through a lens of, gender, security, all these social aspects of urban planning, basically. And in that case, I adapted the prompt to that specific topic. So here you have a general prompt where basically in group they map out elements of that ideal future. So I kind of incentivize them to describe like, okay, in this ideal, city in which urban planning was decisions were made and was designed in consideration of social needs and diversity needs. People felt safe because buses or you didn't have any area that was dark, so people could see everything that was happening. And so they basically mapped out just very roughly what that ideal future scenario for that topic looked like in groups. And then what they had to do is choose a specific a very specific transformation out of all this mapping that they did. And then came the individual part where they had to project themselves, basically contributing to building that desirable future. So this is the part that gets them to build a sort of alter ego of themselves that had struggled to work towards that transformation. I asked them to identify the values that drove them, the trials and tribulations that they encountered, and what eventually led them to successfully become that kind of agent of change. So that part was really the introspective part, where the students had to think, basically, not like, they had to think about them in this alter ego that was making decision not only based on what is expected in terms of career from your parents or whatever, or money, but just what did they, based on basically social impact. So then after filling out, and actually that was like quite a difficult part for a lot of these students, because of course they're not used to this kind of creativity. Some of them were using ChatGPT for the first question. That was like something funny about their background. So that also gave us, some information about, like the fact that this imagination muscle obviously is hard to train. It is a muscle. It is something that students, specifically in very, like rigid technical studies, are not incentivized to train enough. So it was an interesting exercise for many. Some of them refused to do it. So yeah, but overall, most of them managed. The time was also quite short, so that was a challenge, and we had to fit in the 2 hours that was given to us. And the last phase, that was the backcasting. So after having envisioned a desirable scenario, after having projecting themselves in it, and narrated the story of their alter ego working towards that change, that part was now the meat of the activity, because this is kind of the main result that I collected, which is to go back in groups after having read everyone's stories to one another. They had to come back in groups and identify 3 different transformations that they believe their university should make to support their social responsibility and their sense of agency. So this idea that decisions were made in consideration of what their impact would be on society. So here I kind of told them that they could think about whatever they wanted, whether it's like particular courses, pedagogies, certain skills, certain mindsets that should be emphasized. So each group gave 3 answers, and I collected all of these and conducted thematic analysis on these. And it was very interesting. I'm going to share some of the results, but overall, the students, you have to keep in mind that they were never ever asked to even reflect on the education that they were receiving. You're in these huge universities, you just have to pass your exams. Like this moment was unprecedented for them. And they did a really good job at having an opinion, actually, of course, on the pedagogy that they receive, on the relationship to the teachers, on the choice of courses, etc. So the first result that I want to share, so it's the answer to that last part of the exercise. So their ideas. So we classified their ideas in 4 kinds of responses. The first one was related to the pedagogy, then the content of the courses, the overall academic climate, and then some particular, very precise changes in the curriculum that they asked for, actually. So the first theme was really some of the students focused on having to rethink pedagogy, obviously. So this, if you're in the field of sustainability education, we always hear about it. Sustainability education should be based on, very locally relevant, transdisciplinary learning. We need to be in the real world, to do projects, to act, to break silos. And these students, they've probably never read a paper on best practice in sustainability education, yet they were very much able to put the finger on what they believe they need, actually. So, and another interesting aspect was really this desire to have more projects that involve students from other disciplines, architects. And they are in the same campus, but none of the projects, or very few of them, require them to actually go interact with them. So that was relating to pedagogy. Then, when it comes to the content, of course, of the curriculums, they ask for simply more integration of these issues. In the course, particularly of the civil engineers, with this teacher that I worked with, so she's the one, she's a sociologist, and she was given, a lecture at the end of the year, like the very last year, to talk about the social aspects of transport mobility. So it's like, a very peripheral topic. It is not like integrated throughout the program. And this is something that students realize that is important, and that is still not the backbone of the different courses. It's still not applied transversally enough. Yeah, then a lot of the students also talks about the fact that some of the logics, that are taught, the economical one, the growth logic, was probably, taught in a way that like this is the only option, and some students were very much able to identify that they would like to, yeah, be shown different narratives about the context in which they problem solve as engineers, right? And yeah, the need for practical case studies, practical example. They kept saying that they would like to see, projects that worked, people that made choices that were ethical, that choose ethical career paths. They expressed that there was not enough content on that even, and that university just pushed them in, working in big companies, and they feel like the alternatives don't exist. And the last one was related to the overall climate, which the overall culture, maybe we could even call it. And it's really the fact that the competitivity in these institutions is really like still the main driver. Students are still ranked. And I had like personal conversations with students who were saying how, yeah, like this culture of competitivity is extremely toxic, because everyone is just yeah, it's a very individualistic way of learning, and collaboration is not deeply, like it's not a norm in the way they design projects. So this is for sure something that we know is very important for actually impactful sustainability education, and that is yet to be implemented. And of course, the mental health aspect, because the pressure on these students is extremely strong. And a lot of them, this is their first priority, is actually getting through the exam intact. And then maybe they can think about having an agency on the world, So Yeah, and lastly, some of them mentioned very particular things, particular changes that they wanted that they thought could be a good idea to be implemented. Um, Related to the workshop, some of them, I really like this quote actually, debates about the effects of engineering and limitation of our own knowledge. So really this kind of almost philosophical reflection where it's not about finding the most efficient solution to the design of a particular mechanics, but it's actually about this meta reflection on our purpose and our responsibility as engineers. Um, some of them mentioned probably giving credits or financial support to students who want to integrate social work, in their projects, in their research. Yeah, so more freedom basically and more incentive, but like with reward, with actual credit, that it's not just like voluntary work, but it's actually recognized and institutionalized. The second results that we're going to share with you, this is from the survey that we gave after doing the workshop, where we try to assess how this workshop, how it impacted the students, what did they learn about themselves, and what they learned about others. We're going to see in the last part. And here we have also 4 different thematics relating to pathways, so more like where they're on their journey, their emotions, their values, and their level of agency or agency capacities. So it got some students to think about whether they're aligned or not, because in this exercise about the alter ego, they had to imagine, right, what that kind of a higher version of themselves who was, so ethical and stuff, like how would they behave? So, and then of course they necessarily contrasted to what they were actually doing now. So some of them realized that they were, aligned. I'm working to be what I want. And then other ones realized that they were a bit misaligned. I have a view and goal that differ from the path that I'm in. So this kind of introspection intent was fulfilled with the workshop. Then it also made students reflect on their capacities right now to lead socio-ecological transformation. So some of them mentioned that they realized that they will need a lot of creativity, or they realized that they were very creative or not creative enough, according to them. Motivation to act, self-awareness. So it really made them basically identify, okay, like right now, I realize that actually I can have empathy. Like I'm a super empathic person. I think that's important for my agency and for me having a transformative impact on the world. And others, I realized that maybe they were lacking a bit of confidence, or they realized that they actually should get more out of their comfort zone. So it really, made them introspect about what they could lean into in order to be more, to have more agency or feel like they do. And then obviously the emotional introspection, some of them, it got them thinking, basically tune in to what they were actually feeling regarding the future, which in their course, they're never really asked to do that. They're asked to solve problems, and not to just inquire into what's currently going on inside them. So some of them realized that they were worried. Some of them found motivation, and they realized that they were motivated, and that like that the things that they were made to reflect on were actually very important to them, and that they never really took the time to reflect about it. And then lastly, also related maybe to the second one, these values and skills. They basically, yeah, realize what matters to them, or let's say they were reminded through that workshop. So some of them mentioned the need of being disruptive, their families, and a lot of them made statements about, yeah, this kind of hope, right? The fact that we have to believe in us, we can do this. So it was a moment for them to feel this kind of collective motivation with their peers. And lastly, what we wanted to share, and that actually also revealed a lot, because obviously they did these exercises in groups, right? So basically they had to reflect on this kind of interpersonal relationship, right? So some of them, when asked what did they learn about themselves, a lot of them were more leaning in a positive direction. So I realized that actually we're like all at the same place. Like we all feel this uncertainty, we all feel worried. They realized that, yeah, they're not alone. Some of them realized that yeah, basically, again, this convergence that we share more than we think. And then some of them were more focused on what was like completely, this discrepancy between team members. So some students, yeah, obviously some ideological divergence were revealed. And this kind of, so it was interesting how students yeah, like gained and were able to reflect on and learn about, like know more about their peers, basically. The second element, or the third element, is regarding to this futures literacy. So a lot of students realized basically the beauty. I research futures literacy, so for me, when I see these results, it really yeah, it gives me hope, because they realize by confronting their imagination with one another, they're able to reflect on their own experiences, but also by understanding how other people think, they can also kind of adjust and maybe get more ideas themselves. And they also realize that actually your vision of the future matters a lot for what you do right now. And through that, through this exercise, they were able to understand kind of their peers' stance more. And the last one is the group's attitude towards change. So quite also related. So they could kind of identify what was the main source of motivation or barriers to change in their peers. Realize that some people care less about social issues, some are more concerned about it. And some of them mentioned also this yeah, connection with nature that came out, I think, well, only 3 times, but yeah, they just try to identify, okay, like how are we going to get there? What is needed actually in the group for us to come to a kind of yeah, shared sense of purpose. So what this tool allowed us to do is, first of all, really open up a space for students to get into this introspective mindset, which, as I said, is very scarce in these programs, and also reflect on their frustrations, their needs and desires, of course, as engineers, but before anything else, as young people. And I think there is a need in these highly technical institutions to, yeah, develop this kind of civic sense, because they're always, repeated, okay, you are engineers, like you are shaping the future, literally, like the built environment, you are solving problem. They are put like in this, yeah, like in this kind of pedestal. And a lot of them realize that actually maybe the solutions might require them to also work on their citizenship before their professional persona, let's say. And also, what was very important to us through this workshop is that it's by gathering student voices, we kind of helped legitimize and give legitimacy to the work that is already being done. For example, in this bureau that is trying to take care of innovation and student well-being and community, you have all these adults or people who have more power, making decisions at the school level, but very little times are the students involved in these kind of transformation processes. So what we will try to do now is to kind of bring these ideas and these voices in discussions at this like higher level of the university system. And whenever, there is sometimes you have to push for student well-being to be politicized, let's say, to say that it's not just a matter of mental health, it's also a matter of purpose. It's a matter of student getting the right information to make the right decisions, to be an agent of change. And with these voices that we gathered, we can also give legitimacy to what some teachers and staff at universities are already trying to push forward at higher level of the university. So this is the next step of the project, trying to, now bring these voices higher up through different also kind of exercises that we've already started to do, trying to map like the strategy of student well-being, taking into consideration these proposals. So yeah, that was for this tool that we created. If you are interested in getting the worksheets, we'll be very happy to share them with you. You can adapt them. And we wanted to now do a little exercise. It's not really an exercise. It's more of a message to writing a message basically to someone, a student who has lost kind of their sense of purpose or is kind of feeling paralyzed with what is going on politically, climately. So if you want, we can maybe go on this Mentimeter and try to answer or give a message, and maybe we can then come back in this conversation and share what we've written. If we also don't want to scan, we can also write it in the group chat, which I think is also feasible. So maybe until, maybe 10 minutes. And then we can have a discussion. And if you have any questions, we can also answer them with Giulia.
If you go on the next slide, you may find the live board with the answer.
Oh.
I mean, if everyone has scanned, we can also go, and I can put maybe the link.
But people,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, maybe put the link in the comment, Giulia, for the Mentimeter.
So I put the link in the chat for everyone who want to join by clicking the link.
Sure.
Maybe we can also open up now a discussion around, well, these last prompts and Q&A for everyone interested in knowing more about the initiatives that Lola is carrying on at Polytechnic University of Catalonia. Yes, please, Janine, do you want to comment?
Hi, Giulia. Hi, Lola. Just a quick question. Was this the first time that you did this initiative at the university with the students?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can confirm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
But,
wonderful to see what happens when we put non-traditional disciplines and we add features, or when we, as Lola said, the imagination muscle has not been trained yet, right? So it's incredible when we look at things from a completely different perspective, but it's a wonderful initiative. And I wish you all the best that you can do this again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janine.
Yeah, it was. There's another teacher that actually did. He wrote a paper on where he did interviews of students, also on like their sense of responsibility as engineers, and he also used a sort of like persona method, but it was just with his students, like with 10 students, I think. And then there's another teacher who would use a future scenario, but in her own research, like in urban planning. So before doing it, I tried to look at, okay, what teachers, in this university, like actually use future thinking methodologies, like by looking at their papers and stuff. And there was not much, but there is a growing interest, I think, because now, I mean, future thinking is a very hot topic. Everyone is kind of wants to get on it, but no one really knows what it is, and it's a very, yeah, very big world.
Lola, if you upload or reload the pages, indeed, yeah, there were 2 more comments on the Mentimeter that
I
was.
think now it shows.
Yeah, now it
no?
shows everything. Yeah. I love the peer-to-peer suggestion because I guess witnessing what Lola was provoking in terms of quality of conversation in the classrooms really underpin this collective knowledge that is there and really no one leverage on, especially when students are not only the object of our study, but also a subject that can be absolutely included in the co-design of courses, especially to tackle the eco-anxiety and the eco-paralysis that future thinking is listening to, at least. I won't say alleviating, but at least give visibility also to the emotional part of feeling even more privileged in accessing information firsthand and know more and more and more about climate change and so forth, but then lacking of emotional tools or imagination muscle training for proposing something else. That's why I loved reading the comments about having a purpose, no? And believing yourself and we can do the difference, like all of us.
Yeah. And if I can share also some of one of the questions that we didn't mention in the presentation that we asked the students were about the barriers that they believe prevent young people in general um, from making decisions based on that social impact or ethical values. And of course, what came in these technical profiles was really this sense of, or yeah, it's a perception, but it's also true, the security that comes with doing, highly regarded technical studies and choosing prestigious career paths in technical studies. A lot of them were saying that this uncertainty of the future to them is also the reason why they choose to do that. And then comes also the responsibility of universities, I think, to try to direct them really towards, like, there's a whole work to do on yeah, like guiding professional guidance in these universities, because right now the ties to corporations that actually also have a very negative impact on the planet, on people, is still very much there. So this is, yeah, the responsibility of university strategy, but then you have a conflict of interest with politics and with neoliberalist logics of growth and techno-solutionism.
Did you follow up one of the students, or on your feedback forms, the one student said that he realized his values were not aligned with the path that he was on and studying? Do you know what happened after that? Did they stay with what they are doing, or did they make a change?
So I don't know, unfortunately, because this is from the questionnaire, the anonymous
Ah,
questionnaire at the end. So I don't know what happened with that student. I yeah, I hope the cognitive dissonance is not too strong to the point where, or maybe it would be good. I don't know. Um, I just hope that it makes them, even if they don't radically choose another career path, maybe they adapt the angle of their research or choose a participatory methodology, maybe some small, but yeah, the behavioral change that we cannot assess. I mean, we did not assess, but it would be interesting in a bigger study for sure. Yeah, and what was also quite interesting for me is that I don't come from a technical field. So the reason why I chose to work with, because I've worked with primary school students, I've worked with kindergarten students, and I actually thought that it was very interesting because for me, engineers, they will hold a lot of power in society, right? Some of these students will go into policy. Some of these students will work in big companies, and I feel like there, I don't want to work just with students who already care about sustainability and climate, but also students who are in these more traditional fields. And yeah, it was of course, like, I had to discuss a lot to understand what was the culture, because for me it's yeah, it's very far from how I did my education and my worldview, and but it was very interesting. And a lot of them also, with now with social media, like, and just their own like culture and education, they're very aware of the context and the fact that this techno solutionism also is questioned.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
excellent.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions.
Well, if that's the case, then I can ask Elena to wrap it up for us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Giulia. Thank you, Lola. As we wrap up this inspiring session, thank you all for being part of World Future Day Young Voices. Your perspectives and participation have made this conversation truly meaningful. The journey doesn't end here. New facilitators and fresh conversations begin at the top of each hour. You are welcome to stay and continue exploring future possibilities with us. Quick announcements. If you enjoyed today, this kind of learning doesn't stop here. It continues to Teach the Future's global online youth futures community. Right now, we are offering the following learning experience. Campaigns for Change builds award-winning projects using future literacy skills. Join Young Voices FutureWise Institute. We apply these learnings directly to your active projects and future initiatives. As part of World Futures Day, there is a special discount code to register. If you're not ready to take part in a learning experience yet, you can still stay connected. We'd love to hear about your experience, share your feedback, and receive your badge of participation. Please fill out our survey. I'll share the links in the chat now.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you.
The breakout room should be closing soon and you'll be sent back to the main room.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lola.